is actually now the necessity, because this is where we are at that inflection point that unless we collaborate, we will not be able to generate enough revenues to sustain ourselves.
Yeah, you wanted to say.
I just wanted to react on what Ashwini was saying here. I think if you look at the voice last 10, 15 years, I recall, I was not in India at that time, but I recall first few years were pretty tough. And then in that adversity, I think there were a lot of innovation that happened. Today morning, Mr. Arthur was talking about, they were the first, India was actually truly the first country which went on, sharing the passive infrastructure, right? Creating a joint venture between the three toughest companies. I think that was good. The voice factory and the business models that were established. Today, India, the cost of production for voice is far lesser than anywhere in the world, right? I think that was the innovation, the business model innovation that happened here in India. And my belief is when we're going into the data now, data today, I don't know if my colleagues will differ with me, I think they're putting billions of dollars already for 3G, 4G, add spectrum on top of that. And I don't think any of them have a line of sight to the profit. So I think now is the time, really, to come together and see how do I now attack the data part of the business? How do I create a model, invent a model that works for us in India? Even at $4 or $5 ARPU, I generate 30, 35% of the level. I think my belief is in India will come up with something. I think today, we're reaching probably that point, where I think the brains need to come together. We all, I see Cisco as a technology enabler in that journey. I think time is now. Let's get together and see how we can create a model that's relevant to this country.
Yeah. Alpana, you wanted to have one last quick word before we move on to the next question.
Yeah, just a very quick one. I think what I heard Mr. Bhargav say, I would like to appreciate that, in fact, that the fact that all of us exist, it creates a healthy competition, and it's, again, good for the customers, because the quality bar keeps going much more higher up. And I think when we think about it, and as an operator, I can see that, say, mobile number portability, that was, in some sense, a collaboration that was brought together where, again, you are enabling something which is useful for the mass at large. And same way, if you think about it, any regulatory changes that get introduced either by TRAI or by DOT, all of us are bound to obey that, mandate that, comply with that. These are certain areas where instead of having to invest a lot of money separately into all of those, if those are areas of collaborations that can be leveraged, I think nothing better than that.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we have got lots of questions, but in the interest of time, there are a couple of questions. So I think let's make it interactive rather than, yeah. Can we have the mic there and then one here, please?
Hello. Yeah. My name is P.K. Nag. I am from I2APT. My question is from Alpana, actually. I will take where she said Internet of Things would be coming in the near future. And she also, and all the panel members, they said that competition inevitable, and there will be a lot of competition to retain the customers. Now my question, what will be your strategy to compete with a new operator who will be coming with a plan to provide man-to-man machine communication, Internet of Things, and their offerings to the customer will be the data as much as you can eat free, what AT&T did in 2006 when iPhone came. And then they're coming with the network, which is the state-of-art, 4G, and doing research on 5G as well. So how with your old network, 2G, 3G, and you're coming with more 4G, how you will compete? What will be your strategy? Where your 80% of the revenue coming from voice? And if a new operator gives this voice for free,
I think she's understood the question. Yeah, I think we can ask her to respond.
I think if I tell the strategy, then I think I won't be here anymore. So that part I'll stay away from. But just from a thought leadership standpoint, it is quite clear that ultimately the trend, as you very well summarized, the trend is towards data being readily available to all the customers, network being just a pipe, and it is going to be readily available. On top of that, you are being enabled by various kinds of content. So it is really, you are the king, right? So if you are the king, customer is the king, what do we as service providers need to do so that all of our food is not eaten away by one such new player who has everything and best of all the worlds? So when we look at all of these things, I will come to an answer which is going to be somewhat different than possibly you may have thought about. Really, technology is not the answer. Technology is something which is doable. Technology is something which, if you pour enough money, yes, you can do more and more things, again at a mass scale, but it is actually execution that needs to happen on ground to reach out to the various kinds of things that various people want to eat. And how do you make that execution really enabled? That is not an easy task. If you are given $100 million and you are given the full authority to go ahead and execute it, I think unless you have a very strong execution, a very strong, what we call in our technical terms, campaign management system, where you are able to really identify what is the analytics that you need to approach. Laying out fibers, laying out all kinds of Gs is not going to be sufficient unless you can appropriately leverage it for the customers. So that in brief is my opinion.
Let me supplement. She didn't talk about the strategy. Let me talk about the strategy for Internet of Things from an outsider's point of view. You see, the Internet of Things or the man-to-man machine communication is going to be a different ballgame altogether. It will be different than the conventional way of providing communication. And communication is only one small part of the whole thing. For example, in some of the applications, you will require very, very small bit rate of data. We are talking of very high speed data rates, etc., focusing on that. But think of, for example, smart electricity meters. You would require probably 20, 30 kbps of data once in a fortnight or a month, right? And some of the applications, like in telematics, you would probably require very huge amount of data. It may be on a real-time basis, sometimes it may be sporadic. So designing such a diverse and different kind of network for IoT is going to be a challenge, totally a paradigm shift than the kind of network planning that the conventional operators are used to. And probably there would be a new breed of what I would call M2M service provider who would come up and provide these services, and the relationship with the traditional operators could shift. Similarly, when you have these kind of communication, probably with millions, thousands of devices for an application, again the tariffs could be much less than, operators are already complaining about the low tariffs, and imagine those kind of situations where millions of water meters or millions of electricity meters are to be combined. Are you going to get a 100 rupee ARPU, which we are cribbing about? So the business model also is going to change, and with that strategy would change, and new breed of operators or service providers or strategies would emerge.
I have a question. Should I ask?
I think just to add, like whatever Mr. Bhargava has said, so like we are all talking about IoT, and once this comes, this will happen, this will happen. Do we realize that it is already there? It's already there. So many SMSs you are getting. It's all machine to man. Machine is sending you SMS. You do a ATM transaction, you get a SMS. You do a your credit card swipe, you get a SMS. So all these things are happening on our existing infrastructure. Without in many cases we even knowing that people have some industry or some innovative business model has been created using our network. So again, this IoT is not a revolution that one fine day it will come and then it will change. It's slowly happening its own pace, and it will keep happening like this. And most of the infrastructure that is being created by all the operators will be used for that. And obviously the new operator infrastructure will also be used for that. But yes, there will be a need to specifically enhance our infrastructure to suit to those requirements when those kind of requirements come in front of us. So that's how we look at the IoT, how it's going to happen in a mass way or in a big way.
So thank you so much. I think there's a question. We'll take maybe one or two more questions. And yeah, there's a question from Mr. Srivastav. Can we have the mic for him, please?
I have the mic. May I ask
the
question?
Okay. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I am Bhairav and I am with Airtel. My question is to Mr. Bhargav. Disruption does not come with announcement, right? And before we came to know Wi-Fi in our homes, let's say our broadband modems, were providing connectivity to our smartphones, and nobody realized that. People were consuming internet on wireless internet at home. Similarly, in the office. So, my question is, unlicensed spectrum and the kind of disruption that devices can bring about in the types of networking I think you alluded to in terms of, let's say, personal area networking, home area networking, yeah, and the penetration of fiber, right? So how does all these business models that we are talking about, basis which these recent auctions have happened, how do we protect these business models? Is there some strategy there from a government perspective, or how? Because this disruption is going to happen in this space.
I thought I would not talk about the auctions and confine to technology. The operators certainly have their business model, and the government's business model is to make as much spectrum available to the industry as possible. Beyond that, coming back to your Wi-Fi thing, you see, we long ago we started public Wi-Fi service, almost 10-12 years when I was in MTNL, and I found it very, very difficult to find a taker for various reasons that I would not go through. And it has come full circle, and today we are talking of Wi-Fiing the whole Delhi, Wi-Fiing the whole nation. The government as a policy is saying that we will Wi-Fi all the tourist places. So technology has a habit of coming in full circles. Sometimes it doesn't work. In India, Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi as a service has not worked, but we are talking about it with enthusiasm, and all sorts of solutions and business models for this kind of public Wi-Fi service is being talked about. Wi-Fi offloading everywhere else is a hot topic. Here in this country, Wi-Fi offloading is not talked about, despite the pressure being on the